Hey all, Scotch Tape here, and this is actually future me because this is like starting to edit this video. This project, it was supposed to be a part of one of my last few videos for the Something About series, but I had to put it off because personal reasons. So yeah, I'm really sorry for the delay on this video for the one person who decided to ask me on doing this thing. And yeah, so I also tried uploading this back in April, but it kind of corrupted, so I had to unlist it and save it for when I actually did have a chance to edit it. So this is the final product of that said video, so I hope you all enjoy, and I'm going to throw myself out the window after this. Ah yes, the consumer portable computer, one of the most revolutionary products of our generation, and one of the most used products in your next college career. Hi, I'm Scotch Tape, and today I'm going to teach you how to properly get one of these epic portable laptop computers, because these will either make or break your college experience. So, without any further interruptions, let's do this. A Windows computer is practically your best bet if you're on a budget, but there are some Windows computers that aren't pretty optimal for the kind of use you're going to be using it for. So here are the required specs presented by my friend Daniel, the computer voice guy.
Hi, I'm Daniel the MLG voice guy, and I'm here to explain the best specs to look for in a laptop if you're on a budget. The first thing you should look for in a laptop is the processor. This will pretty much determine how fast your computer can run. There are a variety of good processors out there, and a lot of bad ones, so let me just tell you what not to get. If you find a computer with either the Intel Celeron or Intel Pentium processors, do yourself a favor and avoid these at all costs. Despite the low prices on these machines, it's better off if you get a better bang for your buck on a laptop that has a better processor. Celeron and Pentium are so bad, they can't even run Minecraft properly on the lowest setting. So if you don't want your machine to end up like this, I suggest you go for an Intel Core i3 machine or higher.
As we proceed throughout this video, I'm gonna, cut in for a moment, and I'm just gonna give you a few tips on whether or not you should get a new computer or an old used computer. Want to know why? Because if you're on a tight budget, right, and you're trying to get a good computer, but you don't have enough money for it, I just recommend getting a used computer that has, that's like quick enough to do your normal everyday tasks than to get a brand new one. Because if you get an old one, you can save money, and if that one ever breaks, you can just use the money you saved up to get a better one. So let's find a used computer, and let me show you that as an example. We're going to go on eBay and we're going to find a good computer that is pre-owned. This is an HP EliteBook 840 G2. It is a 14-inch screen computer. It has touchscreen and 500 gigabytes of solid-state storage, right? This is a very good example of what you should be looking for if you're trying to get a cheap but, good computer, right? What the seller did well here is that they included pictures of the physical computer. You always want to look for that in case you're trying to find a cheap used computer, right? Always pay attention to the pictures of the physical product. If you see something like this or this, then that's probably not going to be a very good idea because you're not able to see the damage or potential, scratches on the device. Another thing to keep in mind is the condition of the device itself. You always want to make sure it says used or new if you're actually going for a new device. If it says anything like refurbished, you want to avoid that at all costs, because refurbished models are more vulnerable to damaging a lot more easily, and you don't know the repair quality of it unless you contact the seller, which they would either say that they fixed it themselves or they had some other sketchy person who probably isn't certified to make a repair at all. So yeah, always pay attention to the condition. Make sure it says either used or new. And if it doesn't say refurbished, always double check with the seller to make sure that it is actually just used. One last thing I should mention, sometimes the seller will be very, very friendly if they send you an additional accessory like a laptop bag or a longer charger. So if you feel like maybe the seller will, if you're lucky, the seller could send you something like a new laptop bag. That's what happened with me when I got my MacBook. The seller sent me it in a nice little laptop bag I could use to carry it around. So yeah, always pay attention to that. Usually in the item description, if you scroll down the page, they'll have a list of the things that'll be included with the package. So if you're lucky, you could find one with a carrying case or a longer charger. Also, one more thing I should mention, before you make any purchase, always make sure the laptop already includes a charger. I can't tell you how many people have made this mistake where they ordered the laptop but the seller did not include the charger. So please, for the love of God, find one that also includes a charger. Cash money! In the car with honey! The same advice is probably going to apply for Apple computers, right? Because you can just find them on eBay as well, and you can just save money by doing so anyway. But for those of you who wanna, you could just get it new. But for those of you who are on a budget but also like Apple computers, this is the section for you. The same practically applies here, just like Windows computers. A, you want to make sure that it's not refurbished, and B, you want to always make sure that you have a physical picture of the device, right? Because you don't want to get a device that's like scratched up, messed up for a super expensive price, because MacBooks are really, really expensive. But there's also one other thing you should also consider: getting an older model. Yes, I'm aware of what you're about to say. Ew, why are you getting an older model like a broke person? But it's really the smarter decision to do, because they're more reliable and they're a lot cheaper than their newer counterparts. I use an older MacBook too. Like, it saved me a lot more money than getting a newer model, the new 2020 MacBook Pro, right? These are my specs. I have a late 2013 MacBook Pro. It has an Intel i7 processor, and it has an Intel Iris Pro graphics card, right? That's like a way better bargain than getting a newer, MacBook Pro or MacBook Air if you're trying to get that. And, it doesn't even have to be a MacBook Pro, because there's a cheaper alternative that Apple released alongside of the MacBook Pro, right? And that's the MacBook Air, the thinner, the smaller version of the MacBook Pro. Basically, it's a school computer that we were using this year, right? Those are a much better alternative than a MacBook Pro. It does basically all a Mac does for a cheaper price, except they're smaller and thinner, right? So yeah, I would easily recommend getting a used, older model MacBook Pro or MacBook Air, depending on what you're going to be using it for. Like, if you're a computer science major, then yeah, that's a great thing for you. If you're a music producer, even better. If, doing writing and stuff, maybe something a lot cheaper like a Windows computer or a Chromebook, right? But yeah, that's your best alternative. So to finally conclude this portion of the video, this is basically a quick summary of what you should look for if you're trying to get a MacBook, right? Always go for the older models. The older models are your best bet. They're the cheaper ones. They're pretty much the basic go-to devices, right? The newer models, they're a lot more flimsy and they can break a lot more easily than the older models, right? Second, look for a used one if you're not trying to get a new one, right? It saves you a lot more money, and you can avoid trying to, the hassle of wasting more money on a already new product. You're wasting basically $2,000 on a laptop you could get for $500. All right. And lastly, always, always, always make sure it does not say refurbished, because if it does, it's not going to go well, and it's going to be a lot more vulnerable to breaking. And if you're not sure if it's refurbished or not, contact the seller. They're always willing to help, and they're there for a reason, because they're selling the computer to you. Right, so imagine if Android and Linux had a baby. Now imagine Chromebooks. They are literally the equivalent of an Android phone, right? They're useful, but they're not exactly the best, right? A Chromebook does the basic necessities of any computer, but there's just one catch, right? It doesn't run all programs like a Windows or a MacBook, right? So yeah, that's basically it. But in its defense, it does run programs like this one and this one. Heck, it can even run this one. And that's all the advice I have to give, right? So yeah, just go for older models, make sure it's refurbished, and that's pretty much it. And just go for it. You're gonna need this. This is gonna be for like all 4 years of your college experience. So don't be afraid of choosing an older model over a newer model, right? Because those with newer models, they just decided, oh, I'm gonna go for the new one. Maybe I'm gonna waste more of my money rather than save it, because newer is always better. And in the case of getting a computer, new is not always better, right? So take it with a grain of salt. That's just my opinion, but always go for a cheaper, older, and probably even used computer. This has been your boy Scotch Tape. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you want to see more of this in the future, make sure to like that smash button and subscribe that hit button, and because it helps a lot. So yeah, I'll see you all next time.